Hi guys. Um, this is Friday, as previously announced. Um, so the first bit is just something not small but short that I'm going to talk about, which is I've been seeing something on social media a lot over this past week. Um, I think it was on earlier, and then it became kind of like it waned, and now it's coming up again, and that is the whole Harry Potter uh, franchise. A lot of people, with the reboot, talking about whether or not they, should watch it. People separating, um, the work from the author, etc., etc., etc. And I know nobody asked my opinion. Nobody ever does uh, on the internet, but people give their opinions just the same. And so here's mine. I have had um, artists, performers, athletes, directors, writers that whose work I have genuinely enjoyed, and then found out through things like the Me Too movement, and other things, scandals that break, that they're not great people. And so I do understand what it means to separate the artist, meaning I can acknowledge that uh, Bill Cosby is a horrible person and a rapist, while still acknowledging that what he did for uh, African American culture and the black community as a whole, and how black families were seen during the 80s, and into the 90s. You can't deny that impact or that influence. The two things can be true at the same time, essentially. And that's all well and good and fine. What I don't do and what I won't do is put money in the pockets of horrible people. That doesn't mean that I don't consume their content. Either I previously owned it, or maybe I found it on the high seas. But I do not put money in their pocket. This thing with the reboot of Harry Potter is not that. It's more than that. I love Harry Potter. I have friends who are obsessed with Harry Potter. They are super fans. Um, I love it. I think it's great. The story is incredible. I just recently watched two reactors that I follow reacting to the 20th anniversary video, which was amazing. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you check it out. Um, the films were the Star Wars of their generation, and they made careers, and they are amazing, and they were amazing books. J.K. Rowling created this, and she popped up in the documentary, talking about things like inclusivity and people who don't feel like they fit in anywhere else being seen and recognized and accepted, and finding a place and a purpose and a home at Hogwarts, and things of that nature. And the fact that she can say those things and still be the hateful, bigoted, judgmental turf that she is, I can't fit it in my fucking head. It will not compute in my brain. And you can argue those points and say, well, that's separate. Her work stands alone. This is where it doesn't. She has stated from her own lips that all of the proceeds from her work and from the reboot and any future revenue that comes in from royalties or from Harry Potter she is going to use in a war chest against trans people, specifically trans women, but trans people in general. That is just a statement of fact. It just is. She has said that with her whole chest, 10 toes down. So consuming that product is helping her to do that. And that hurts people. Whether you agree with her politics or don't agree with her politics, or you're just kind of like, well, it doesn't really have anything to do with me, it is actively helping to support things that will hurt other people, deliberately and willfully and specifically. And I know that there are people out there saying, but, the actors and the actresses and whatnot, those people, even if they don't agree, they're just, they're doing their job. I would say that it is on par with the people working for ICE. Everybody is struggling. Everyone wants a paycheck. Everyone wants stability, financial stability. They want benefits for themselves and for their family. And I would still say to anyone working for ICE, quit your fucking job. It is not worth it. It is not worth, if you have a conscience, it's not worth your conscience. It's not worth your soul. It's not worth the damage that you will impact on other people. It just isn't. And the same thing, it can be said of helping to fund J.K. Rowling's war efforts against trans people and her promotion and propaganda to make the world as transphobic as humanly possible. So yeah, I need to work is not good enough. It just isn't. At the very least, you're a collaborator, and at worst, you agree with her, in which case you're a monster. And this video isn't for you anyways, because you're not going to listen. But, yeah. That's where I'm at with that. I don't know how it can be interpreted any other way. I'm open to interpretation. If you've got another take or why that shouldn't matter, I'm willing to listen, again, as long as you're approaching it with civility. So yeah, there's that. So that's my 2 cents on that particular issue. And I'll see you with another one on Monday. As for the week in general, it's been an interesting week for me. Again, not that anybody asked. I don't think anyone really does these things for... Ooh, thirst. One moment. I don't think... Well, I guess some people do these videos for, just for ego or for whatever. I don't really have any delusions of who will or won't watch these or interact with these or give me feedback in any way. I do it, I guess, for my own catharsis and for posterity, in case not for me specifically, but I don't know, in 50 to 100 years, if some sort of record still exists for the internet, whatever iteration it is or becomes in 50 years, just to see what people thought of things. But this week seemed to be all about trying to find balance. In my day-to-day, I have a really, really hard time sleeping. I have since I was a kid, And so I tend to be a night owl. I don't really have any kind of set sleep schedule. I've tried to have one multiple times throughout jobs, throughout school, throughout college. Um, it never takes, it never sticks. And so I wind up basically staying up until I can't stay up anymore, and then I fall asleep, and then I wake up, and I never know when that's going to be. And so uh, my life can be a little uh, isolated, both because of that and the fact that we live in a truck. And so, yeah. So phone calls are big, and I'm not always good about them. I know a lot of us aren't. We always intend to call people or to call people back. We want to stay connected. When we take a minute to think about, oh, I haven't talked to so and so in a while, I should really call him, or I should really let her know that I was thinking about her, or whatever, and we don't. And then, something happens, someone gets sick, someone passes away, and then we're left with all this regret about why we didn't reach out, why we weren't, why we didn't make more time. You can't really make time. Time is just time. But we can be better about it. And even though it's never worked with my sleeping habits, for me at least, routine patterns are very helpful. So, like, this week was the first week I established with one of my grandsons that I would call him on a specific day of the week. And I'm going to try to coordinate with his cousin so that that's kind of like the grandchildren day where I make calls and talk to them and kind of because they're both at that age. Um, I have two grandsons, and then I have I don't know what you would call him. He's not really a step grandson. My youngest grandson has a half brother who is not from my child. But I was there when he was born, and I kind of consider him a grandchild once removed, if you will. Um, but the two older ones are one's just becoming a teenager and one's preteen. So they're at that stage where they're kind of like developing their own personalities, and it's less cool to hang out with your family and more cool to hang out with your friends. And so this, I feel like, is really the time where you get to know who they are and what their interests are. But they often find it awkward or weird sometimes to talk to adults, especially grandparents, unless the grandparent is around all the time, which I'm not. And so it was important to me that I made that connection. And with my dad, too, uh, he reaches out a lot, kind of cats in the cradle kind of situation. Um, and I always, I'll get to it. I'll call him back, and then I get distracted, or I get sidetracked, or I fall asleep, or whatever. So I'm thinking about doing kind of the same thing with him. Uh, those balances are like super important, and they're hard, right? They're hard for all of us. So, I mean, I guess some people just schedule everything. To me, that I won't say not spontaneous, although obviously something being planned isn't. It just doesn't feel as organic to me. But being organic hasn't really worked in terms of trying to keep those connections with people because they're super important. And in my opinion, one of the worst things that you can be left with after someone isn't around anymore, or even at the end of your own life, is regret. These things that you wish you had done and didn't do, or things that you wish you hadn't done and did do. Um, I don't know. Balance. Balance has been on my mind a lot this week. Balance with my medications, balance with. Ooh, I'm getting pink in the cheeks. That would be a hot flash. I hate those. For any other women out there going through menopause or perimenopause, fucking sucks, right? Like I can see it in my face. Wow. Ooh, pink, pink, hot, sweaty. Ugh. If you have any tips for menopause, please drop them in the comments. I would so appreciate them. Night sweats are particularly heinous. Um, but yeah, anyone else, if you have any thoughts about how you find balance or what you can do, any suggestions you might have. None of my content, I don't think, is going to be, oh, I have the answer for. Um, if I have something that works, I will certainly say, hey, this is what has worked for me. But week to week, yeah, I'm just going to do Mondays and Fridays, the beginning of the week and the end of the week. I'm going to take the weekends for myself to try to decompress. I really am making an effort, especially in light of just the state of the world and the divisive nature and visceral nature of social media. Um, I'm really trying to be more mindful, more healthy, um, mentally, emotionally, trying to regulate my emotions. None of this is easy. I think the older you are, the harder it can be because you have to unlearn and unfuck so much shit that has gotten fucked over the 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 span of your life. So like, if you're 10 years old and you've only, had shit to deal with for say 5 of those years for whatever reason, although I certainly hope no one that young is having trauma, but we know they do. Um, that's 5 years that you have to untwist, as opposed to 20 years, or 40 years, or 50 years, uh, in my case. But yeah, if you have any suggestions for finding balance, or if you can just relate to trying to find that balance, trying to stay connected with people. Um, I think one of the biggest things that threaten our sanity, our mental and emotional well being is isolation. It's natural when we're upset, depressed, sad, angry, feeling bitter, feeling sorry for ourselves, to withdraw and just kind of sit in that and marinate in that and not let any external voices interrupt the loop that our brains are on. Um, and it's so important that we do. I tell my sons that all the time. Some of them listen, some of them don't. But yeah, any insights you might have about it uh, is appreciated, or just just to chat, just feedback as to your thoughts and feelings and interpretations. I hope the sound quality on my camera is better. If it is, we'll go back to trying reactions again. We'll see, but that has been a nightmare, so we'll see what happens going forward. But yeah, this is going to be the format. The first like 10 minutes or less is going to be some snippet or something that I want to talk about just briefly or have a little rant about, and then maybe 10 to 15 more minutes in addition that will be on YouTube just 'cause. So, yeah, let's see who shows up, who wants to chat, who talks. If I start getting enough feedback, who knows, we'll start doing live streams so that we can have like dialogue as things are happening. Again, I don't mind anyone having a difference of opinion. Be respectful, be civil. If you can't be either of those things, just know I'm not going to engage. I'm just going to block you. All right, guys. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.